to the viewers of cricket today, not a lot of them are aware that you just turn the clock back by about 20 years, 25 years, and your lot absolutely lauded the game. Would you want to give this generation an idea of just what it was like being part of the heyday of Caribbean cricket?
Well, yes, first selected for the West Indies cricket team to go on a tour to New Zealand. I think it was 80, could have been 86, late 86. And it's amazing. I mean, you know, these are having a chance to play with players that you idolized since you were a little boy. I mean, you know, the Richards and the Holding was on that tour. We had Garner. And, you know, you're walking through the airport and people would just stop and stare. You know, that's the West Indies cricket team. You felt like 10 feet tall. You know, you're among all these gods. I mean, something that you dreamed of as a little boy, so you had to actually pinch yourself. So no, it was a fantastic time. You know, there was a lot of passion, a lot of pride, representing some, you know, 6-7 million people from the Caribbean. A very dominant West Indies team, which was dominated from since 75. And then obviously Richards, after Lloyd, continuing in the same vein. So, you know, powerful cricket nation. I was very proud to be selected and representing a great cricket nation. But obviously since then we've hit on the slippery slope. And, you know, our results in recent past hasn't been one to be very proud of.
That leads me to where I wanted to go. I do want to, through the course of this conversation, chart the course of your career and talk to you about the highs and those times. But I want to talk about the present first. As you said, it's at times a little disappointing seeing the way West Indian cricket might have slid a little over recent years. When you, as a person who represented the West Indian cricket community with such great colours through the 80s and the 90s, when you or people from your time watch the present team as it stands, what is it that you see? What is it that hurts you the most?
Whatever you see now, I have experienced it. Like I was fortunate to play in, to start my career in the 80s, as I mentioned, and we were good up until 93. But from 93 to current date, we've just continued to go downhill. So I know what it feels like. I'm now obviously been retired a long time. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan now watching in, and I've got my opinions. I just think that I suppose as an ex-player, and furthermore, I'll probably go as far as to say the West Indies board have been found totally wanting, really, and we have, well, I suppose the players must take some responsibility for the performances being professional cricketers. I think you really can't look past the West Indies Cricket Board to take the bulk of the game. You know, they're the custodians of the game. And, you know, for the last 15, 20 years, I haven't seen them implement any measures, any real long-lasting measures that will start to arrest this decline. Yes, we've got a professional league, but our wickets in the Caribbean remain some of the poorest rung in you know, world cricket. Sabina Park is not what it used to be. The Barbados Kensington Oval is not what it used to be. And as a result, I think you'll always be a product of your environment. And what we see today, basically, is exactly what is happening in the Caribbean. Substandard pitches, cricket not being in the schools, a total breakdown with club cricket, and as a result, I think this is what we see today with the West Indies cricket team. But I think it's hard, you know, you sometimes want to point your fingers at the players. Yes, they can do better always, but I don't think the board has really helped the situation.
Since we are talking about the board, it obviously doesn't help to have the kind of situation that has existed in, say, this last decade, where every year you seem to have some sort of a player versus board tussle. Contract resolutions have taken long. There are signs that there might be a bit of a truce in the offing, but has that been the biggest stumbling block, so to say?
Well, I said in an interview, and I've been saying this for ages now, I mean, not specifically, I'm not going to target the IPL, which I think is wonderful for cricket. You know, the youngsters getting a chance to come to the forefront. But T20 leagues, the whole dynamics of the game, The way players move around and play today, it's different. I mean, years ago we used to spend 3.5 months, 4 months in India. Now you come, you spend 6 weeks, you go off, you go on, stuff like that. I mean, so it's sort of different. But furthermore, to my point, the issue with the players and the board has been compounded by the fact that T20 cricket is so lucrative now.
How much of that onus is on the players, Mr. Hooper? Because while, yes, these contract issues are important to correct, but it does boil down at some level to an individual choice as well. Is perhaps the amount of money involved with these mushrooming leagues, considering that a Chris Gayle can effectively, without donning West Indian colours, travel to at least 6-7 countries over the course of a year, do very well for himself financially as well as his stature as a global star, and somewhere that eats into players wanting to don the West Indian colours?
Well, good point you make there. I mean, the words of sports being the global star. So the game is changed. The landscape as we know it has changed. It's gone beyond now just playing for West Indies. He's just as well known here through the IPL and all the other various T20 leagues. So I think the board has been left behind. I think if we had maybe a little bit foresight, a little bit more vision, we would have seen that this is a threat, and it will continue to be a threat until the board is in a situation where they can, or in a position where they can contract most of their young upcoming players. I mean, there have been so many good players we've lost to the shorter version of the game. Sunil Narayan, Andrew Russell, Kieran Pollard. I mean, Sunil Narayan I would have loved to see in this last 2 test matches. So he would have gone, and he's just also a very good batsman. He can hit the ball too, he can play. Kieran Pollard, I think, has never played a test match. I mean, who knows what would have happened? Andrew Russell probably would have played a handful. Chris Gayle, I think, has cut shortest. I can't tell the last time he played a test match for the West Indies. And I don't blame the players. You cannot blame the players. But I think at the end of the day, if somebody's going to offer you, hundreds of thousands of dollars to come and play for a couple of weeks, and somebody's going to offer you a contract, 200,000 or maybe half the amount or quarter the amount for the whole year, it's an easy decision.
And there is perhaps a greater irony in the fact that while all this has happened through the T20 era of cricket, the West Indians have been the most dominant force as far as T20 eyes are concerned. The only country to win 2 world titles in the T20 format. Maybe that would have been an area to look upon. Maybe that was an area where the board, of course, I'm sure regardless of what the viewership data is in the West Indies, which I'm not absolutely certain of, when a country wins a world title, when West Indies won the World T20 in 2012 and in 2016, it surely shot up the interest in the Caribbean islands.
Well, it has, but guess who controls as you know, the CPL T20 League in the Caribbean? It's not the West Indies board, they sold off the rights. So it's just amazing. So here we're talking, you've got a dominant World T20 side, winning it not once, but twice. Furthermore to that, T20 leagues seem to be the vehicle that is stirring the interests of the people, certainly the younger people. Mom's bringing the son through, dad's bringing the son through, gongs are packed, the atmosphere, whatever. And this is the event that we've managed to sell off to a foreign entity. You would have thought that we would want to, given the location in the Caribbean, beautiful location, beautiful beaches, lovely nightlife, lovely cricket, the atmosphere is electric, full houses. You would think this is something that the West Indies Cricket Board would want to hold on to and run with it. In terms of geography, we're very close to the United States of America. You've got a lot of Indian fans that come down to watch the games. In fact, I think some of the, if I could be wrong, some of the franchises could be owned by folks who live in the States. So again, and the US is a very, very big market, But what did our board do? We sold it off. You know, so we talk about decisions, is like there's no vision, no long-term vision. Like they just see what's there right now, as opposed to looking down the road and say, okay, this is where we're at. We're trying to get over there. What are the steps, the incremental steps we need to take to get over there?
Is this all that we're discussing right now? Is this on a larger level, on a more global level, also impacting the game overall and not just West Indian cricket? I mean, opinion seems to be a little torn at this point about where cricket is heading as a global sport, or whether it even is a truly global sport in the first place. Where do you stand on that debate?
Well, I think it has affected it to a degree. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still got a lot of great players around, really good test cricketers around. But, you know, I could remember playing against Australian sides, playing against Pakistani sides, Indian sides, played against South Africa a few times. And when you look at this, the team sheet, I mean, you'd have 5 or 6 world-class players. You know, you come to play against India, and you see Virender Sehwag and who else to the top. And then you see Sachin Tendulkar at 3 and VVS Laxman and Sourav Ganguly and whoever else want to slot in and so on, and the bowlers, Zahir Khan and Harbhajan and so. I mean, some of them are world-class players, you know. You go and play against Australia and you see Justin Langer and Matthew Hayden. And then you see, you know, the Steve Waugh and Mark Waugh and Gallum Gilchrist and Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. I mean, you look at the Australian team today, you know, they've lost 2 key players in Smith and Warner. And you look at it and you're seeing some players that you're saying, hey, you know. So as you look around, I suppose, as you look around the world with as far as test cricket, you can see there's obviously a decline. But like everything else, it goes in cycles, you know. It doesn't always stay up there, you know, probably going through a little bit of a trough, and then it'll probably, in the next few years, I suppose, go back up. I suppose with the advent of so much T20 cricket too, we're not playing as much test cricket.
Absolutely.
So that also could be a point, you know, that people are not getting a chance to play, you know, for a lot of big 5 test series. Apart from the Ashes, I really don't know of too many other 5 test series that are played.
Would it be fair to say that this is somewhere linked to a lack of dynasties, so to say? The West Indian team that you joined in the late 80s through till the time, till the mid-90s, it was an empire in itself. The Australian team that took over from there was an empire. Here in this part of the world, we look at the Indian team from the 2000s as a golden generation. You don't see those generational empire-esque teams anymore in Test cricket.
And these are formed, I suppose, because almost the names become household names. You know, I mean, I could say from the Caribbean, and if an Indian team is coming, back in the day we had no television in the Caribbean, but, you know, you can call the Mohinda Amanats and the Gundapa Vishwanats and they're household name in the Caribbean. And why they became household names? Because they obviously played for India a long time, so you keep hearing the names, and each name has a story. I mean, today, you know, you look at maybe say the T20 cricket, a guy comes in today, has a good season, you know, goes off to another club, you hear about him for a couple of seasons, then he disappears. Another guy comes on. You know, everything is like almost like fast food. You know, while Test cricket, a player will come on the scene and there's a lot of Test cricket being played, and you hear him by the name, you know, a youngster, and then you slowly start hearing him building this name. And it's almost like a story, you know. So like when you probably hear about Viv Richards or Richie Richardson, or who, you know, one of our great fast bowlers, Malcolm Marshall, you hear them come and they build this name. They've toured India once, they've toured it the second time. So the third time it comes here, it's like a household name. You know everybody, you know the players.
If we do look at the global game, we're talking about the issues, but there are also attempts that are being made at some level across the board. Day-night tests, ping ball cricket, more result-oriented tracks. But when you see all that's being done, considering test cricket's dipping stock value, do you feel enough is being done?
No, I don't. You know, I just want to speak for West Indies cricket. We're a cricket with a rich history, legacy. We've had some from world-class players. You know, you wouldn't need to go back. You know, when I first started following West Indies cricket today, you know, to the Kanai, you know, sort of the Kanai Lloyd era, coming all the way back now to present day. But then I suppose you can go even further back to the Weeks and Walcott, the Wes Hall, Charlie Griffith days, you know. And look where we're at from then to today. I think obviously it has affected us because of schedules. Today we don't play as much cricket. We certainly don't get to play as much cricket when we go on tour. Test cricket when we go on tour. Now a lot of the test tours are 2 test matches, 3 test matches. In fact, I don't know of any, you know, series apart from the Ashes that they would play 5 test matches continuously. You know, whether it's in Australia or whether it's back in England. West Indies now will come to India and play 2 test matches. This series was 2 test matches. You know, they go home, they go to Bangladesh, they'll probably play 2 more, you know, 2 or 3 max. So it certainly curtails the development of young players who would, after doing well in the first class level and get a chance to play, you know, you go on tour, you would have thought, let's say in this case, after 2 test matches, England 2 up, you might have a case where maybe they're going to get a chance maybe for the 3rd, 4th test match, so they get an opportunity to play. But not only that, in between the first 2 test matches, you would have probably had a 3-day game or 2 3-day games to play, so that if you're sitting on the bench, you get a chance to play in Indian conditions, which also help you to develop as a cricketer. And this is not only affecting us, but countries certainly like Zimbabwe, who I can remember going to Zimbabwe years ago, and they had a very good team when they had the Flower Brothers, Heat Streak. They've gone backwards, you know. Yes, some teams have come forward, but they've come forward in the shorter version of the game. You know, Afghanistan has popped up. I think Nepal is beginning to play some cricket around, you know. So it's helped the shorter format of the game, but certainly the longer format. I mean, look at Sri Lanka. You know, years ago, you know, Chaminda Vas and the Ranatungas and the Darfinda de Silvas, Jayawardena, you know, Sangakkara. I mean, the Sri Lankan team right now is a poor team. So obviously, I don't think enough has been done, and I suppose the ICC eventually, but they probably do something to change it if they want to, for Test cricket to. I don't say it's going to totally disappear, but maybe just play. You probably just might see less and less Test cricket, and more, you know, 50 and 20 over cricket, and T10s now.
Yeah, one wonders what is the limit where it will
T5s.
stop. But globally speaking, we're talking about disparity. Globally speaking, do you feel cricket is hurt the most by its exclusivity? We have a World Cup which will happen in 2019, which will have only 10 teams. This comes at a time when, if you look at the most followed sport in the world, which is football, they are looking at a World Cup which will expand from 32 to 48. Yet in cricket, we're shrinking what was already a relatively small number in 14 down now to 10.
Yes, but I suppose that goes back to my point where you'd expect it would be growing. I mean, I can remember when I first went to England, and you obviously had your first division soccer. Players not being played nowhere close as they are being paid today. But you've just seen how that sport just grow. I mean, it managed to even push now into America to compete with you know, the NBA, basketball, the baseball. You know, they're fanatical about the soccer in America. So whatever FIFA have been doing, they've managed to break into that market. We've been trying to break into the US market for God knows how long, and still can't. Not to say that there isn't the interest, but a lot of the interest probably comes from the person who has migrated from India to the US, you know. So maybe there's something we can learn from them, so that rather than having a World Cup with only 10 teams, that's surely the more teams the better. You know, you would love to see, wouldn't it be great to have, you know, 20 cricketing nations playing fantastic one-day cricket at the World Cup, where you think there are 4 or 5 teams that can win, as it is in soccer. You know, I mean, you could almost call when there's a World Cup on, you know, probably, if I give you 2 guesses of which team is going to win it, you probably might run close, you know?
All right, I've dabbled your mind a lot about the serious business of cricket and where the sport lies. I want to do something which I'm hoping would be more fun now. I want to go back to the time when you were playing. You alluded to, at the start of this conversation, to the great pride and honor in being part of that legendary West Indian camp. When you look back at your career, which now it's about 16 years into your retirement, what are the fondest memories you have?
Well, I suppose the fondest memory, I suppose, was being made captain of the West Indies team. I mean, you'd probably cherish that for the rest of your life. And I tell you what, you only really appreciate it when you're finished. Because a lot of times when you're close to the action, you really don't appreciate the honor that has been bestowed upon you. It's only since I've been retired, obviously now, working in schools with the younger fellas and seeing them trying to forge a pathway to get to play for Australia or India. The effort that it, and there was one time I was going along the same road, putting in a lot of effort, the blood, the sweat, the tears. So that's one thing that I will always hold dear to my heart. Obviously, not a proud moment, obviously playing your first test match. It was actually right here in India. I think it was at the Eden Gardens, I believe it was. Second innings, bringing up my 100, turning Maninder Singh down to the backward square. I think it was Chetan Chauhan that ran in and ran two. My first double 100 against India as the West Indies captain, another proud moment. Beating India in the Caribbean, coming back from behind. So there are a lot of proud moments, man. I can remember even when Brian Lara was named captain, because we had a very close relationship and we worked really hard together. Seeing if we could arrest this decline, played a good innings against England where I made 97 or 98 not out. Bringing us back from a position when there was almost no hope of victory. And together with the tail enders, managed to sneak West Indies over the line, so another proud moment. And then I can go all the way back to, to playing under, the legend Viv Richards, playing cricket with Viv Richards and Malcolm Marshall and Joe Gardner and these guys. So there are a lot of proud moments that I would cherish.
I'm quite glad you brought up that one knock against England at the end, because this was becoming a bit of a list against India, which a lot of your followers in India might have some haunting memories from. You did really enjoy playing against and in India, which is why do you find it wonderful that after 15, 16 years not directly connected with the game all through, now you come back with a stint as a radio commentator, and guess where it happens, where all of it began for you as a player.
Seems like a first. Everything seems like a first. Because I haven't done radio in the Caribbean. In fact, this is my first time I'm doing radio. And where am I doing it? In India, So this place is special to me, man. First test match, last test match, 100th test match, first time on the radio, doing commentary, all in India.
So should we expect to see you here for the IPL sometime?
Well, yeah,
step up the game?
hopefully. I mean, I like doing the radio. I learned so much in these last two test matches. I'm obviously still a rookie. I'm learning things. But the beautiful thing about it is that you know what's happening out there, and if you speak passionately about it, you'll be okay.
All right, so this has been a wonderful chat. I hope it has for you as well. We've looked forward, we've looked backwards, gone way back in time, transcended a bit of a course, and perhaps going back to the starting point, that's something West Indian cricket could do well as well. Look back to the golden times and hope to build on a better future, not just for West Indian cricket, but for world cricket.
For world cricket, yeah.
Mr. Carl Hooper, it's been an absolute honor speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.